imports to meet local demand. So an increase in this ratio implies that we increasingly are producing more with excess to export. But you can see that the ratio declined from 23% to 19% by 2014. I'm going to skip the next few slides on opportunities for further growth. I think I'll leave my presentation with GDP in this sector is going to be pirates. And that's why, and this affects the quality of the movies and music that has been produced. Because if I am a movie producer, I know that most of my revenues are going to go I'm going to produce at the least possible cost. So you might find that the cameraman is also a director, is also a producer, because I'm trying to minimize my costs. Tackling the piracy. And if you do, you can generate better revenue for people. Can you skip the next few slides and go straight to the structure of government revenue? Well, we all know that the sources of should it be broad and diversified versus dependency on natural resources, rent? Could it be predictable or dependent on international oil markets and crude oil prices? Should revenue in Nigeria can be categorized in two broad groups, oil and non-oil. And we know that today in Nigeria, oil revenue is dominant, accounting for about 80% of government revenue. The problem is that there's a mismatch between government revenue and economic structure. It just shows the trend in oil and non-oil revenues since 1970. It was only up to 1970, non-oil revenue was, because I think we're all familiar with. I'll skip the next slide on oil revenue and distribution. I need to move very quickly. Skip the next slide on crude oil, gas, and equity. I think we're all familiar with this. I'm also going to skip the discussion on the challenges of dependence on oil revenue. We're all familiar with all of this, the resource costs, and revenue. Again, the presentation is revenue and the distribution. It's on that if Nigerian consumers have a taste for a particular product, maybe one that is a foreign product, it is more useful to encourage that product to set up shop in Nigeria. That way, I'm still buying what I want to buy in Nigeria, the same brand, but in this case, that company that set up in Nigeria is now paying Nigerian government revenue, as opposed to buying it, importing. They understand that this is what Nigerians want, and they basically import it in and smuggle it to Nigeria, and they make a lot of money that way. Meanwhile, we are banning it from coming in, but it still comes in, and the government doesn't get the revenue anyway. So if you either police the borders properly or remove the ban and let them come in legally and collect government revenue from, because it's still I'll skip that and go to the structure of taxes related to the structure of economy. Now, what we can slide above is that the largest contributors to GDP, as well as many of the fastest growing sectors currently, yet it contributes about 19% GDP. I'm going to skip all the discussion on the link between jobs created and when you look at the 40% or so of formal, usually low skilled, low paying jobs. So the ability to increase your personal income tax from that as well, with the jobs increase, is very, very minimal. So I think the story there is more formal sector jobs, formalization of the informal sector activity, and more higher of 40 minutes, because I've gotten like 7 signals from all sides of the room, so I'm just ending with this. We know that Nigeria is going through hard times, not the only country, but hard times. But a lot of people, like most people say, revenue base and make it more in sync with our growing economy. The chart in that slide shows what we all know, dependency of government revenue and FAC allocation. And you can see that relative to taxation and IGR, and you can see that how volatile FAC allocations are. It's funny to do this, and this can only be done, like I said, by expanding our tax base via the incorporation of the informal sector and increasing the VAT. How do we, I've given this example before. Take the transport sector, for example. Most of us, when we enter taxi cab, we pay the taxi cab, the taxi fare in cash. They are not being taxed. Nobody's taxed them. How easy it is, how easy in your car, in your taxi, connected to the tax authorities. Everything becomes standardized. So rather than having whether it should be 1,000 naira or 2,000 VI and Lekki, it's standardized. And as soon as you are moving around, the tax authority knows exactly what tax you need to pay. And then instead of the last bank code harassing us, check whether we have meters actually in their cabs and functioning. It's not really that difficult. Same thing in real estate. If there's a rule that says before you can perfect your documents in Lagos State or wherever it is, you have to show the details of the estate agent at the video, and it has to be confirmed that he's a registered estate agent, where the details of the transaction is made clear, including the income that he generated from the sale of the property, thereby forcing him to disclose completely outside the formal sector, outside the control of tax authorities. So use the GDP. If I'm not a policy maker, I'm just supposed to produce the information for the policy makers to use. Where was the policy maker or the tax authorities? You use the GDP structure to understand where the money is. Rather than focusing on oil and the oil thing is just very easy to collect the revenue from oil. So I guess a lot of people focus on that. So use the GDP structure to compare with your current tax receipts, and then try and bridge the gap by formalizing the informal sector. Get companies to pay taxes to pay more, not by increasing tax rates, but encouraging them to expand output. Because they never meet the national standards in our preferred markets in Europe and America. And well, if the standards in those countries are very high, why not increase intra-African trade? Where standards, product standards may be lower. Import numbers of many of these African countries, coming from those markets anyway. So why not supply that market? Paying taxes, they take it extremely seriously. I think you are better off in court committing armed robbery in the US than not paying that serious. They take it extremely seriously. So it creates a very comfortable bouquet of incentives to pay, as well as strong disincentives not to pay. I believe that the focus should be taxes, corporate savings, which in turn will be there to increase investment, hire more people, produce more output, expand corporate taxes. Also, I think that government revenue and taxation should follow economic cycles. In other words, tax more while government revenue and taxation is making a cycle. Government spending should be countercyclical. In other words, save in excess crude. When the economy is booming, you are taxing people more in that period. We are not spending, you are saving it. Then when the economic downturn comes, you are using your you are not supposed to be taxing companies when they are already struggling. You are better off taxing companies when they are booming. Then you save that revenue. And when things like this happen, you spend that revenue and then you reduce their taxes to encourage them to maintain output and keep hiring people, at least maintain snapshot. It's not meant to be exhaustive. I've had to not say a lot of things. I'm expecting a lot more insights as we deliberate on this and many other issues. I just have to thank you. Very, very patient. Thank you for your patience and God bless you. And thank you once again for listening.
Just beyond me. This is just too much. But very insightful. He has gone all the whole length to show us the base GDP, and he has also shown us that there is still potential in this economy, and all of the things we are focusing on. That we haven't even explored. The little contribution that getting from agriculture, manufacturing, is not enough to sustain government, and there is just opportunity. And that this crisis of low oil prices, is not bad for us after all. This is a good opportunity for us to do all of the things that we grumble about in our bedrooms. Why can't government do this? Why can't government do this? The opportunity is now, and that's why. Against what we advertised earlier on, Boaz Namafoye, the head of business news for Channels Television, was supposed to moderate the panel discussion, but due to some emergency, we're glad to welcome Yinka Ibuku of Bloomberg News. She will then moderate this panel discussion. So while Yinka come up and while we set up the stage for panel, just give us 2 minutes and then we'll be on with it.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Yinka Ibuku, to pay salaries. And so I'd just love to know by a show of hands, how many of us here are concerned about the state of the economy in Nigeria today? hands if you're concerned. If you're concerned about, okay, not too many people are concerned. That's good. Some of us are zen. We don't get to worry about these things. But it's, to borrow and about that. How many of us pay our taxes with reluctance? You pay it, but you pay it with a grudge. Oh, wow. Okay. A lot more people. Okay. So we have an issue with revenue, and people are paying taxes, but they're not so to, but you're not really it. You're still having to queue up for fuel. You're still having to put fuel in your generator after you've queued the whole day to just get that fuel. Your tires are damaged by the roads you travel on. And then the good roads you travel on, gate on them. So, so this is really important. And I think it's important to bring this discourse down to us because we're all people, most of us. Revenue for the next government to pay for the services that the Nigerian people need. So it's about us. And now, wow, they set up really quickly. So without further ado, I'll just introduce everyone who's going to. Oh, sorry.
Very closely internationally. If I was to say what some of the priorities ought to be, and this is not going to be rocket science either for many people here, but I think we want to see a clear direction on the oil, the petroleum subsidies. The system is clearly not working. I think that ties back into one of your points earlier about. And I think that one really wants to see some real. And once again, as work has been done, an incomplete and a somewhat failed process. One really wants to see the policy framework in place, and this has been done where one sees.
And we can talk about it in very nice terms, so we can describe it in. Look, those who won the election on the account of change. I am not sure they fully comprehend what the change is all about. The facts available to us, from what I've gleaned from the transition committee, is that if you thought this was the situation, here it is. And the difference is only simple. Once we create, you cannot become a better version of PDP. You have to find yourself that this new government is going to say. You would understand that they are just talking points. Purely insolvent. There's also, which again, I must concede, what are the state capitals in America? Since we're towns? Because that's not where the whole thing is. How do we